had a good fortune of being in a family business. My dad started a store, his fifth vintage store, in the west end of Queen in Toronto. I then took it over after he passed away.
I was always in shopping for things when I was in the city, and he always would say to me, "Oh, you should meet my son, you should meet my son." And then one day Tao was there, and it was just like, "Oh, yes, I'll meet your son."
No,
it
wasn't like that at all.
Yeah,
Just make it, maybe on the inside, but that's not how you were on the outside.
In the inside, that's what I thought. Yes, I'll meet your son.
Finally, I worked up the courage to ask your name.
Our family is growing and growing. We were priced out of the city. We needed to find more space, so we needed to get creative. We needed to find something that we could squeak into with what we could afford.
Right now, van life is such a huge thing, and converting buses and stuff like that. 50 years ago, my parents, they bought a bus and crisscrossed the US. It's really neat seeing how history repeats itself, understanding history so it can help you in your life now. This little town, York, was the most important place in Canada because of all the trade that happened on the Grand River. One of the main things that I always say with our children is how to find diamonds in the rough. And that's a huge thing that I can take away from my childhood, from my parents antiquing. You can see the steeple from here. I was looking every day at listings, morning, noon, and night. The agent the next day said, "Oh yeah, okay, if you want to come see this place, sure."
The organ was right there.
Yeah.
And when it played, it was like the acoustic in this building is phenomenal. A church of 150, oldest building in Haldimand County. There was a couple that were 90 years old, they're buried back there. Another couple that were pushing 100, they were back there. Carol and Richard, and me and Susie, that was all that was left. Heartbreaking. Have at least 25 youngs in the cemetery.
Part of the condition of even owning the property was to be owner-operators of the cemetery. I feel like it was very low on all the things that Tao told me about this place. He sort of buried that lead of that there's a cemetery here. We really talked a lot about if we wanted to do this. Sometimes I'm really worried about us, and then sometimes I feel like we're being very brave and adventurous, and then sometimes I worry it's too much.
Back in the 18th and 19th century, everything revolved around going to church service.
They hold a get-together at the church.
This space was kind of the center of the village, right? You have the church, the cemetery. Everything surrounding death would be experienced through the church.
The procession starts in unison for the cemetery.
If I'm today booking a train to Toronto, it's very real for me that I'm going to end up in Toronto at the end of that journey. And for them, it was very real for them that they were going to end up in this place afterwards.
The rector must always precede the casket.
They were convinced that that was the next step to a sought-after afterlife for them, spending eternity in the cemetery. Okay, now the big question is, why have we seen these changes? Values that really emphasize personal choice, personal authenticity, individuals' own decision-making and authority.
One shift and then another shift.
Hey, why not? My own business. All you need is a little capital, a little push.
Kind of undermined more traditional authority that was coming from religious leaders, especially.
Congregational singing is permitted.
So there was a shift there. They could not imagine a church becoming a private residence, right? For them, that was unthinkable. I expect many would be turning in their grave.
Once we saw the woodwork in here and everything even more, we actually liked that it was a fixer-upper. It was taking 300 pounds of raccoon excrement out of the belfry.
This will be their kitchen. This is our big, massive kitchen.
And then...
and we probably have bats as well.
Yeah, we do have bats.
It was just sort of in a plain banker's box. I just call it the Big Black Book. I wasn't prepared for the agedness of the papers. It's up to date in all the people that have passed that are in the cemetery.
People have died of gourd by bull in this book, drowned, scarlet fever, and falling tree.
Right, and this is real history, so
Falling tree.
right, but they would have been probably logging the tree themselves or on the riverboat.
That's so weird though.
Yeah. Okay, honey. It's not a novel though, it's a real thing. Okay.
Cool.
Oh. When we were purchasing it, they did say to us, your cemetery is older than Canada. The hugeness of that hit me. I don't know that I would have agreed to it sight unseen, but it's so beautiful here. Well, I got a little caught up in the history of it too. Reverend Cudmore Hill, bold Cudmore Hill, he was called the Saddleback Preacher. He would do a sermon, jump on his horse, go to the next one, jump on his horse, go to the next one. And he ministered all along the Grand and started all these churches. This is our church here. It was the mother church for the area. That little monument shows that it's a cemetery as well, because it's not on any of the other ones. Pardon me?
With me know where we are. York or here.
Where are you? Ministering to somebody who was ill, he fell off his horse in his later years, and that's how he passed. He's a patron of our little cemetery.
His eternal boss was God to him, right? And that's who he was serving. It's neat how that role has shifted, but we do have the service to life and love and why this is important. We can find the common passion for that service with him without it being in the organized religious way. Somebody will look at that and say, I can't believe you bought that for $375, but it's a lot of risk and a lot of things could have gone sideways, a lot of things still can. You get that, knock on wood.
Anybody that owns a cemetery could close it, only do maintenance. But really the finances of just running it wasn't self-sufficient on its own. We wouldn't have been able to even keep the grass going. We realized it had to still make its own money.
You have probably closer to 1,000 plots. There's 300 still available.
We all know people that have had a family member pass. It's the most vulnerable time. With a lot of other little bodies running around me all the time, I can't always answer the phone and be in that mode. I don't think this would be a profession I ever thought that we would get into. That moth is just doing its thing, honey.
Please don't hurt it.
Just a moment, please. Okay. Hello, the York Cemetery.
Is this a good time?
Yes, of course. Of course, I'm sorry to hear that. We have many available. The per plot price is $3,322, including tax. Honey, I'm just on a call. Sorry about that.
You have 4 children, is that correct?
It is. That is also
you
why.
deserve medals, so I have 3. But now you've got the cemetery with all those people. That's a lot of people.
Well, you're a mama though, so you know you can handle almost anything.
The former caretakers that were helping us transition. Mike, though, he loves doing it. He talks about it like it's his garden.
It's my garden. Yes, it's my garden.
Cemetery experts, when we tell them that we acquired a cemetery, they said, you what? They've never heard of it. These are people with 30 years experience in the funeral and cemetery world. Nothing really happened in the cemetery because we hadn't put any signage up or the website wasn't done. This year, it really landed. Here is a 200-plus-year-old cemetery being fostered by digitization.
The funeral director is still devoting his complete attention to the family in his quiet, sympathetic manner.
We're good people, we're empathetic, we're smart enough. We can do this.
The director assures them that he will remain.
Before they closed the church, the parishioner number was down to 6. Oh, this is gonna start creeping me out. It is a bat show. Now there'll be the 6 of us taking care of it, hopefully for a lot longer.